Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at this Polestar 3 and test drive it. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time because almost a year ago we did a static review of this car and I want to show you everything about this car, its performance, its test drive capabilities and everything that you need to know about this car in this video. So let's get right into it. So when it comes to the variants, you can choose between three different ones. You can get the normal long range single motor, you can get the long range dual motor and the dual motor with the performance package that we have here. So 517 horsepower and 910 Newton meters with a couple other things that we're going to look at in a second. When it comes to the car's design in the front, we do not have it like the Polestar 4 where we have like the separated dual front blades. Instead we have this one section here, which is an option that you can get when it comes to the pixel of the car. So 1.3 megapixels of matrix LED lights, which is going to cost you 1,900 euros extra. For the price of the test car that we have here with all the extras, 110,000 euros. And one thing that did change is they mentioned that it is no longer a breathing car, it is a car that likes to see. Because now instead of a grill down here, we actually have a smart zone. Smart zone has basically all your sensors in here, you have cameras in there, and just smart technology, which allows the car to just be very, very safe when it comes to all the safety features. You can also see that we have this kind of like front spoiler in there almost, because it is actually an airflow that just directs the car's air to a different direction. The CV value of this car is 0.29, which is right around its competitors BMW iX when it comes to the Audi e-tron Q8 that for instance all have 0.29. The only car that's going to have a little bit of a better CV value is going to be the Mercedes EQE SUV at 0.25. Just like any other Polestar, you're obviously going to have a fairly big wheelbase of 2.90 meters. That is 9 centimeters and 99 less than the Polestar 4, and therefore you're going to have a good amount of interior space. However, you do have also a very big battery in here, which is 111 kilowatts an hour. 107 of those are net usable. You're going to get around a range of 631 kilometers if you do decide to get the single motor long range. Our version is going to have a little bit less. You do also get these soft close doors with door handles that go straight in, so soft close in the front and also in the back. If I do this, for instance, there we go, nice and soft close. If you're wondering about the charging speed of this car, it's going to be 250 kilowatts with the 400 volt architecture. That's going to get you from 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes, and then 631 kilometers if you do decide to get the smaller engine variants. When it comes to the rims, we have the performance package on here, so we get these 22-inch rims, which do look very nice. You do get these gold caps also with the Pro package and also the gold brake calipers. We have massive tires, which are Pirelli P0s with 295s in the back, just absolutely massive. I really do like the color on here as well, which is the snow color, and it really shows the elements. For instance, this black bar down here kind of separates the roof from the other section of this car, and just a lot of nice little designs on here. And it's crazy to think about that this is the exact same platform that the EX90 is on, so the SPA2, the scalable architecture from basically Volvo or Geely, which is massive. And I kind of like that they made also a car that is lower on this platform and not as big as the EX90. And in the back we also have a spoiler up here, which is also aerodynamic because you can actually reach through onto the roof panel itself. And standard-wise you also get a panoramic window up there. This full LED bar, typical kind of Polestar design. And also you might think that this is your button for your for your trunk, but it's actually all the way down here, so you have to press down there. Automatically foldable, obviously, or open, and a fairly big trunk space. However, it's actually smaller than the Polestar 4. 484 liters up to 1,411. If you get the Plus package for 5,000 euros, you will also get this foldable rear section and a lot of storage space down here. You can also put a couple of things through the center because there is a little bit of a tunnel, but otherwise you don't get much when it comes to the height of the car, and still a fairly high loading space. You can also have the air suspension if you get that. You can see it lowers fairly quickly, so you have a button on the right side. And you can also opt for the automatically full electrical towing hook, which if you get the smallest engine variant, so the long range single motor, 1,500 kilograms, with however the dual motor, you're going to get up to 2.2 tons of towing capacity, which is quite a lot for an electric car. So with a big wheelbase of 2 meters and 90, which by the way is around 10 centimeters or 999 centimeters less than you get on the Polestar 4, you still get plenty of room. I'm 1.80 meters tall, and the only thing that I will complain about is that the battery height of this car is a little bit higher. You have obviously a very big battery now of 111 kilowatts an hour, and therefore you're not going to have very good support when it comes to your upper thigh. But if you go down under the floor, under the seat in front of you, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable, but the leg or the foot room in there is not the best. Definitely better than the Polestar 4, however, but still a very comfortable ride, and you can see I'm just enjoying myself in the back here, with especially this big panoramic window as well, which allows you to just have a wonderful view out of these mountains. In the center, with the Plus package, you also get heated seats in the back. You have your own climate control down here, 2 USB-Cs, and just in general a very nice quality when it comes to the seats. These are obviously the Nappa leather upgrade seats, so 6,000 euros extra. You can also flip this out in the center, have 2 cup holders in here, and also a center tunnel in here where you can, for instance, transport some skis through, so you can flip that over. Otherwise, you have a 60-40 distribution for the seats. In the back, you do also have the Bowden Wilkinson sound system. In general, 1,610 watts with Dolby Atmos sound system in there, and the Bowden Wilkinson sound system with 25 speakers. So join me in the inside now, and you will notice that we have a vertical display, which is not the horizontal display that you get in the Polestar 4, but in here we get a vertical one, and we actually have a browser in here where we have already opened our configuration. You can see there is a couple of things that we don't have in here because we have the launch edition, so one of the first cars that was actually produced. You can see there are some like golden lines in there you would theoretically get with the performance package. Well, we do not have that. The thing that I do like is, however, we still have manual kind of buttons or switches there to turn your air conditioning the way you want it. We also have the Nappa leather on here, which gives you heated massage and ventilated seats. Well, they give you ventilated massage function. Heated you get in the Plus package as well, with the heated steering wheel. You can see here, performance package is going to be inclusive when you get the performance long range edition, but the Plus package with the Bowden Wilkinson sound system, which is 1,610 watts, 6,000 euros, but a lot of other things that you get, heated, ventilated or heated seats, and also in the back. And great sound system in general with Dolby sound system, where you can, for instance, go in here, press on the Tidal app, and that's the only app that's going to allow you to have so far Dolby Atmos. Spotify so far doesn't have it. You get YouTube. You also have apps which you can download here. So for instance, you can download stuff like Amazon Prime to watch some movies while you're charging and stuff like that. Great, great, great. Otherwise, it is integrated with Android Auto, so we do have the Google Maps system in here with the Google Navigation or Google Assistant, which is really nice. So you can have it on there, and if you also just go into Drive real quick, we'll see we have it on there. The thing I don't like about the steering wheel is, well, you have the buttons up here, but they're capacitive buttons. Well, they're wheel buttons, but they are not like indicator what they do. So you really have to figure it out the first time you step in here, what do they actually do, and then you have to remember what they do. A couple of things that still software-wise don't work too well. Adaptive cruise control, how far you are from the person in front of you, you can't adjust that yet. So this button on the left here really doesn't do too much. But in the future, over-the-air update, that should be focused and should be enabled. In here, you can also see 360-degree camera with rear warning, traffic assistance, as you can see. And we can also have the 3D, so we can move it around, stuff like that. It looks like a miniature car now. Looks pretty funky. But yeah, it's going to be a hard time getting out of this now. And the other thing that you do have is, for instance, this key card, which is interesting because if you want to drive the car, you have to have it on here. If you remove it, you're not going to be able to start the car. And if you have it on there and then have your phone on there, it's going to override the key card. So you have to use the backup key card because this is also your inductive loading space. So just a thing that you need to point out. If you want to also change a couple of things, for instance, let me go back on P real quick. The first time you step in here, it's not a car that anybody can drive straight when they get in. You have to go in here, go down here, go into the driver adjustments, and then you can adjust, for instance, if how far I want my steering wheel up. I have to, not my steering wheel, my side mirrors. I can adjust it like this. Then you have to go adjust your steering wheel with this because it's also electrical, your heads-up display. So you need to get in here every time and change the stuff. Otherwise, everything is, well, done over the digital, over the cockpit, which might be a little bit unfortunate when you're driving this car because you have to really always take your eyes off. But there are a couple of things. For instance, if you go into drive, you don't actually have to press the buttons itself, but you can go in like this, which is a little bit more comfortable because you don't have to hit the buttons exactly. Let's now try to back up here and see how long it takes. So what does it feel like to drive this in a city? You have a turning radius of only 11.8 meters, which for a car that is 4 meters and 90 long is actually not bad. You can also see out the back, it doesn't feel like it is almost 4 meters 90 long. When you look out the back, yeah, you notice that it's a long car. But when you're sitting in it, you get fairly used to the dimensions and it doesn't actually feel that big when sitting in here. Might be due to the case that it's also so slim, so not very high. and therefore you're just a little bit more compact in the car, not as open as in a bigger SUV. You can see Polestar typical, the window is fairly slanted, and therefore you don't have the biggest rear front window, and you also have a fairly big A-pillar, which is going to be a little bit intrusive when driving. Otherwise, surrounding view is fairly decent because you also on the C-pillars in the back have a little bit of a window in there, so just to break up the big C-pillar a little bit. You have a lot of assistant features in here with that smart zone that I already mentioned in the front. You could theoretically also get LiDAR in here for 5,000 euros extra, so you have autonomous driving level 4 support once that is allowed in Germany. And if you do opt for that, the car is going to only be delivered in the mid of next year, so a little bit of a longer wait. You also have some quick binds down here, so you can, for instance, turn off the speed limit and you can turn it back on. You also have the option between one pedal driving, so you can have two different variants of that. You have full one pedal driving, or you have a little bit more of a standard one, which is going to increase the recuperation. And while we're on the talks of recuperation, let's also quickly look at the consumption. The car claims a consumption of 22.1 up to 23 kilowatts an hour. Over the last 107 kilometers that we've been driving, we've got an average of 21.6. And I gotta say, most of that, if not all of it, has been performance mode, trying to go uphill, do that mountain pass kind of drive, which we'll blend in here in a second, which is really fun, and the consumption is still fairly decent for that. Obviously, go up the hill, go down, so recuperation a little bit, but 21.7 is exactly what is claimed. With the long range dual motor performance, you're going to get a range of 561 WLTP. We got around, when we had 99%, 420 kilometers. You can see right now 77%, 330 kilometers. And if you want the most range, you obviously get 650 with the top of the range, the long, well, not top of the range, but the bottom of the range, single motor long range. For cruising here a little bit at around 76, sound is very nicely isolated. Only thing you might hear is a little bit of tire noise. That's due to, or road noise, due to the fact it always depends on the road. And this one right now isn't the smoothest of roads where you can be on. But still, very nicely isolated. You can change a little bit of the suspension when you go in here onto the settings and drive. You can change the way that the suspension feels, so you can have it on nimble, firm, also standard. Standard is going to give you the most comfortable because it has the most movement in the suspension. The sound system in here is absolutely fantastic. You also have speakers in the headrest, so 25 speakers in total, which do an amazing job to basically portray the feeling of an orchestra, which sounds amazing. And otherwise, I really gotta say the steering feeling also feels good. The steering wheel is on a little bit more of the slimmer side, so it's not a big steering wheel, but for my tiny hands, perfect, because it is just very grippable. You can also change the steering feel in there if you want, so a little bit more firm. That's definitely gonna firm up the ride. Standard, I think, is just the best way to go. If you're in the city, light might be also a good way to go. In the interior, the quality is also decent. I would, however, say that the Polestar 4 had a bit of a better quality on the interior, which is a little bit interesting, because that's how a car that's supposed to be placed between the 2 and the 3. But for instance, the roof was of suede leather or suede material in the Polestar 4, and here it's just like this fabric, which doesn't feel as nice. However, you do also get some nice materials in here, which comes with a nappa leather, this dark ash wood, I think it's what it's called. Otherwise, great Bowen Wilkinson design look in there. Like we said, we have the nappa leather, so you get massage function and also ventilated seats. And we also have this white interior, which you could theoretically also get in black. But I do like the white because it kind of mixes up the whole black touches. So theoretically, I think I actually would go for the white. He personally would go for the black. Because we have the dual motor with the performance package, we're obviously going to see how fast this car can go through some mountain pass roads here, which is its perfect condition for that. We have set everything up basically to its most powerful and most performance-based system. The only thing that you could theoretically change is turn the traction control off or put it onto sport mode. We have power delivery down to performance now, suspension feeling to firm, just so you feel a little bit more contact of the road, and the steering feel on standard. You could theoretically change that a little bit as well. But these mountain roads are perfect to test out this car. And the thing about this car is also that it has some nice brakes with the performance mode. So you can see here, those brakes are fairly firm. That was around 50% off brake delivery. But we have the Brembo performance brakes, which is a 4-piston in the front with a 400 diameter of the disc brakes and also 390 in the back, and therefore giving you quite a good amount of power delivery when it comes to the brake performance. And that's going to allow you to stop this car fairly quick, and especially in these mountain roads and when you have a small Fiat Tipo behind in front of you, it's going to allow you to put a lot of performance out there. Let's quickly wait until this car is gone because he is not enjoying this mountain road. If you go down here, you can also quickly choose between non-performance and the performance mode. So a quick bind for that. Otherwise, you go up here, put it into drive, and then you have all the options that you need. And let's now drive up the hill to see its cornering capabilities of this car. The car is going to weigh in around 2.5 tons, or 2,580 even, which is quite high. And therefore, this car, well, might not even seem like it should have a good performance around corners, but I mean, that turns around like a freaking dime. 11.8 meters for the turning circle is also fairly low. And the great thing about this car is you also get quite a lot of punch. With the performance package, you get all-wheel drive system, which you also get in the long-range dual motor. But in here, you get 28 horsepower more, and you also get 70 Newton meters more, so now up to 910 Newton meters. And that basically means you have no track loss when it comes to the traction. That is also in help due to the fact that with the performance package you get the Pirelli P0 tires and massive tires, so 22-inch rims with 265s in the front and 295s in the rear, and those 295s in the rear really make you also stick to the ground so well. But when you do lose a little bit of traction, or you need a little bit more traction, we also have a torque vectoring system in here, which in a corner will produce more Newton meters when it comes to the outermost wheel, and therefore just give you so much traction. And the amount of punch that this car gets, obviously an electric car with 517 horsepower, is quite ludicrous for this car. And it really doesn't feel like you're driving a car that weighs 2.58 tons. It really goes around these corners so sharply and allows you to just kick it in here, and is really fun. You also get an air suspension in here, which is a 2-chamber kind of air suspension, and you can have different modes between the height of it. When you're in the most sporty setting, that's obviously going to help you a little bit with also having a little more downforce. It's also going to have a 50-50 weight distribution, which is nice. And it's crazy to think that this car is on the same platform as the EX90, and the EX90 is obviously a more higher car. It doesn't feel as sporty as this, and they have just done this car so slim, it doesn't almost look like an SUV from the outside. But then that performance that you get out of it is really nice. The only thing that you will notice is, because Polestar is kind of that typical car that has a very slanted front window, it makes the A-pillar fairly big, and especially when you're turning around sharper corners, you're not going to exactly see what is around that corner because it does block a lot of view. So if I'm turning into this corner now, I'm not going to be able to, well, it doesn't turn all the way, but I'm not going to be able to see too much of the oncoming traffic if it's overtaking a bicycle driver. What is it called? Bicyclist? Bicycle driver, I don't know. No, but yeah, well, that's the only thing that I'm going to complain about. So what is my final verdict when it comes to the Polestar 4? Well, software-wise, it definitely still needs a little bit of over-the-air update. Might also be due to the fact that this is one of the first cars that was produced. Otherwise, design looks really good. I like the minimalistic design of it, and in general, Polestar is always a good-looking car, in my opinion. Driving characteristics of this car, especially when you get the performance package, is a lot better than I was expecting for a car that weighs almost 2.58 tons. One of the best driving characteristics of any Polestar I've driven so far. I think even the best. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. And well, one thing I still gotta mention is when it comes to the battery size, only the EQE SUV has a bigger battery. So price-wise, still a lot better. 20,000 euros less when you're spending it on this car. So I think a very decent price when it comes to the car. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.